man's progress has been measured through the ages by his ability to control and direct the forces of nature. It is no accident that water has been closely associated with humanity's march to self-sufficiency and abundance. Since earliest times, running water has been utilized by man in more ways than one. Ancient civilizations found their root in river valleys. Even today, the world's largest cities are located on river banks. London on the Thames, New York on the Hudson, Calcutta on the Hooghly, Delhi on the Yamuna. Far-sighted men, gazing upon the turbulence and ferocity of untamed rivers, were inspired to control and direct this colossal, untapped energy, which for centuries had caused untold damage. Experts working from scratch launched an operation which was to have revolutionary significance. They harnessed the fury of the river by building a barrier or dam across its path. From then on, there was no stopping. Canals were cut from these reservoirs and used for irrigation. And then came cheap electric power. To generate electricity, water is stored in a reservoir situated at a high altitude. From this reservoir, water is released at a controlled rate. It rushes downhill, gathering momentum, and directed along open canals and huge pipelines until it reaches the powerhouse. It is here that the electricity is actually generated. The generating station consists of several turbines and numerous other equipment. It is not possible to see the working of a turbine, as it is always closed during operation. However, when a turbine is opened, this is what it looks like. Mark the curved blades or buckets. When a jet of water strikes against the buckets of a turbine, the shaft begins to rotate. This rotary motion is communicated to the generating set, which in turn releases electrical energy. In actual practice, the process of generating electricity is not as simple as the one shown in the diagram. There are many other pieces of machinery, including indicating meters, controls and regulators. From the generating station, electricity is carried through transmission cables to its destination. The water which has helped to generate electricity is carried away, either to be used for further generation or for irrigation purposes. The use of water for the generation of electricity is relatively recent history. It was in 1903 that the first significant hydroelectric installation was made in India. It was on the bank of the Kaveri River at Sivasamudram. Today it supplies electricity to Mysore, Bangalore and the Kolar goldfields. Ideally situated for power generation are the Western Ghats in Bombay province. It was here in 1897 that Jamshedji Tata began his great pioneering work. Huge Tata hydroelectric installations are now in operation in this area. They have a combined capacity of 250,000 kilowatts and supply 30% of the total electrical energy generated in India. Traveling over 275 miles of high-tension cable, these installations supply the whole city of Bombay, its factories, its electric trains, and its homes. In South India, there are several important hydroelectric works already in operation, such as Paikara, Pallivasal, Papanasam, and Mattur. These have made a notable contribution to the economic and industrial development of South India. The Mattur project is one of the largest structures of its kind, with a total capacity of 93,500 million cubic feet of water. The water from this reservoir is used primarily for irrigation purposes. Another important project is the Periyar irrigation system, the main feature of which is the diversion of the river from the Arabian Sea to the Bay of Bengal. The lake so formed is used to irrigate 175,000 acres of land in Madura district. Bombay province has two notable irrigation systems. The first is the Bhandadara Dam. Set against a beautiful background, it is one of the highest dams in India. It is situated in Ahmednagar district and rises to a height of 274 feet. Then there is the Lloyd Dam at Bhatgarh, with a capacity of 24,200 million cubic feet. It has a waste weir of 48 automatic gates. Other significant river valley developments now in operation are those of the East Punjab and the United Provinces, particularly the perennial canals from the snow-fed rivers. India today possesses one of the largest irrigated areas in the world, but the potential water power available in our land has hardly been touched. This great and fruitful energy is lost as more than 90% of river water flows into the sea unused. This waste is now being checked as many new projects are under construction. The most ambitious of these is the Damodar Valley project in Bihar and Bengal, a project which will control floods, irrigate new lands and electrify a vast area of the countryside. Work has also begun on the Bhakra Nangal project in the East Punjab, the Tungabhadra project in South India, the Mor project in West Bengal and Bihar, the Mahanadi Valley development in Orissa. Extensions to existing installations at Jog in Mysore state have also been taken in hand. The foundations of others are being laid. Several existing projects are being extended. Others are in the process of investigation. Among these is the Kosi scheme in Bihar and the Tapti Valley development in Bombay province. Including other small schemes, it is estimated that there are at present 160 river valley projects under contemplation, planning, investigation or execution in the country. The total cost of these schemes is likely to be in the neighborhood of 1,280 crores of rupees. Before any such project can be undertaken, extensive surveys of the valley are conducted by experts. Research and experimentation on hydraulic models is the next stage. The chief location for this specialized work is the Central Water Power Irrigation and Navigation Research Station at Khalakbasla near Pune. This station has been the center of research for the last 25 years and the results have been acclaimed all over the country. There can be no doubt that all these projects, when completed, will make a tremendous contribution to the economic development of the country. Millions of acres of new land will be irrigated and will come under the plow to help meet the food deficit. Land now lying submerged in shallow lagoons will be dewatered and made fit for paddy cultivation. All this will help in the drive for self-sufficiency in food. Money crops so long neglected will be produced on an increasing scale. 10 million units of electrical energy will be generated to develop and extend the industrial sector of our economy and make life and living as it ought to be. More important than all, the projects will help prepare the ground for the electrification of India's 500,000 villages. New fishing centers will be developed to exploit the unlimited riches of our waters and provide employment for many of our countrymen. Dams will control the excessive flow of water and curb the destructive fury of the rivers. Soil erosion will be halted by ending the menace of floods. Better and more extensive inland waterways will be developed to open up this vast land that is ours. Scientific water planning will also help in destroying the deathly malarial mosquito by regulating the fluctuations of the water level. And thus, emerging triumphant in our battle with nature, we shall be taking a decisive step towards banishing forever the nightmare of poverty amid plenty.